there is one more important data modeling notation for representing common and important business rules. Suppose there are two entity types, A and B, which are connected by a relationship. You have seen that many times. A cardinality constraint specifies the number of instances of entity B that can or must be associated with each instance of entity A. So that is what we are going to learn about in this unit. Cardinality, all about cardinality constraints. So let's move on. Let me show you the first example. It is called mandatory cardinalities. So this figure over here comes with a business rule. The business rule states that patient has recorded patient history. Each patient has one or more patient history. The initial patient visit is always recorded as an instance of patient history. Each instance of patient history belongs to exactly one patient. So let us create a data model of this business rule. Actually, it's already in existence right here, the diagram, the figure. So this is the representation. This figure over here is a representation of the business rule stated. Let me open up Excel sheet so that I can better explain this concept I have introduced to you just now. So here, if you look at the diagram or the figure, mark a patient made one visit, and then Sarah made two visits to the hospital. Oh, by the way, remember, we are representing a hospital database here, okay? So this is the simplest form of a hospital database. So Aunt Elsie made one visit to the hospital. So let me represent, I have already created a tabular representation of the above, of this diagram shown above. So here I have created a patient entity, and it has attribute, patient number and patient name, and patient history entity, and in this case I created visit code and visit date. So every visit by a patient is given a code at a hospital. Remember that. So now let me represent this a relationship called has recorded. So I'm going to create I'm going to enter P10, which is Mark, and he made one visit, so it will be V100. So, and then Sarah made two visits, so it will be V101 and 102. And Elsie made one visit to the hospital, so it will be V103. So that's it. That is how you represent the relationship between the two entities. Okay, now we will move on and explain the cardinality constraints made here. And this specific type of cardinality constraint is called mandatory cardinalities. Let's see what it says. Before we continue, one more figure here. This shows the four different types of cardinality constraints that may exist in an ER diagram. So here our database example, we have mandatory cardinalities. Let's look at it. I'm going to start reading from the left, and when I start reading from the left, I will ignore the notation right next to it. So in this case, I'm going to start reading from the left. That means patient entity, and I will ignore the notation that is right next to it. So I will say patient, okay, has recorded patient history, and each patient has one or more patient histories. So that is represented by one horizontal line and the crow feet. So that means a patient may have one, mandatory one or more. So it's mandatory to have at least one record, one patient visit record in a hospital to be considered a patient. It's that simple. For example, I have recently gone and visited an ophthalmologist at the Silang Specialist Hospital. So that was my first visit, and therefore this business rule, I have fulfilled that business rule. That means I am a patient at Silang Specialist Hospital. I'm reading from the left of the ER diagram. I am a patient at Silang Specialist Hospital because I have fulfilled the business rule that says that I should have at least one patient history record. So right now I am a patient, or I can be considered Silang Specialist patient because I have exactly one record. For another example is my husband. He can never be considered a patient at the Silang Specialist Hospital because he has never gone there for consultation nor hospitalized. So he does not fulfill this business rule stated here. And another example is my mother, who lives with me. She often goes there to consult a hematologist multiple times, and therefore she has fulfilled that business rule that says that each patient has one or more patient history. She has been there more than once and therefore fulfilled that business rule to be considered a patient at Silang Specialist Hospital. I hope that makes sense. This time I am going to read the ER diagram from the right-hand side of the diagram. So that means patient history entity. From patient history entity to the patient entity, and therefore I am going to ignore the notation right next to the patient history entity. So in this case, I'm going to read it this way. Each instance of patient history, that patient history entity, belongs to exactly one patient. That means each patient that have ever been to Silang Specialist Hospital will have one and only one patient card. I think all of you know that when you go to a hospital, every patient is assigned one card or one patient sheet. So that means that when I go to Silang Specialist Hospital, my mother goes to the Silang Specialist Hospital. I cannot share the card that is assigned, the patient card that is assigned to my mother. I cannot share it with her. The same thing goes for my patient card that is maintained, my patient record card that is maintained in Silang Specialist Hospital. My mother cannot share it with me even though we go to the same hospital. So, and that mandatory one is denoted by two vertical lines. Look at the cardinalities figure. You will have two vertical lines. It says mandatory one. Okay? That is all there is to know about mandatory cardinalities. And I hope it all makes sense to you.